Hi everyone, I'm Helen. Welcome. Thank you for joining me at the start of a new direction of my channel. I'm really excited that you've joined me. So I am completely obsessed with organisation for my art supplies. And today I wanted to show you how I created an overall colour chart for my colour pencils and talk about the advantages that I find with having a chart like this. So I do keep standard charts for my pencil sets, just like these. They're in a colour order that makes sense to me, from white through to black and going through the colour wheel. I've actually got a colour wheel in here that I created with some pencils that I use as a little bit of a reference when I'm creating my colour chart so that I can make sure I'm going through the order in a fairly consistent manner. My pencils are also sorted in the same order in their trays, usually that they come in custom drawers that I make for them. So I'll put an image here so that you can see what that looks like. So initially when I was thinking about how to go about creating this colour chart, because I knew what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to achieve a chart with all of the colours on it. And I did think about, doing something like a standard colour chart like this with just all of the pencil collection, which would look really, really nice, but it would be super inflexible. If I added or removed colours, I would have to do a new chart and I'd have to colour it all over again. So this one, it can look a little bit hodgepodge the way I've done it, sort of, things going up and down, and the size is a little bit different, but it's super customizable. I can add and remove as I want, get to the point where I've got my ultimate curated pencil set. And, I don't have to keep redoing it over and over. I can just add to it or remove it as required. So my overall colour chart follows the same system where I'm going from white, well, these neons and metallics are at the end, but white through to black. And what it does is it means that I can easily identify colour conversions if I need to. Like you can see these pencils here from Holbein and from Derwent Drawing are really, really close in colour. Or I can find the perfect blend for a project. It's also really useful for me at times to find a backup of a colour if, say, I've run out in a pencil set. So how I put it together. I decided to choose to use page protectors that are made for coin collections. I got these on eBay, and the reason I chose these is because they were the smallest pocket that I could get. So each swatch isn't too large or too small. It's a really nice size to be able to get a good idea of what the colour looks like. And it's not too big that it was going to take me forever to colour it in. I also like to be able to see plenty of colours on a single page spread. So pockets are ideal because it allows the colour chart to be flexible. I can add and remove the swatches as required as I curate my colour pencil collection. Now I've got two different size page protectors here because I bought them at different times on eBay. It doesn't bother me. I really like to focus on function over form and economy. I probably got whatever best deal I could get at the time for the same or very similarly sized pocket. You can see one here is slightly taller each pocket. I think I had to punch some holes in one of the sets so that they would line up. So the other thing I use are these little plastic rings to bind them. I just got these off Amazon, again, really cheap. I like them, they're really flexible. Sometimes you get a few duds that don't work, that don't click together, but they came in a set of, I can't remember, it was like 40 or 50 or maybe even 100, I don't know, but they were super cheap. I actually use them in all of my colour charts. What's awesome about binding it in this way is that I can just flip it over and it takes up a lot less space if I need to refer to it on my desk. The other great thing about the page protectors is because they're plastic, I can wipe them down. I tend to be really, really messy, flicking paint and mediums all over my desk, and my drawers that all sit at the front of my desk are covered with splotches of paint. but these I can just wipe down if I notice it in time, which is really awesome. So when I'm filling up my swatches in these page protectors, I actually try hard not to fill every slot. So you can see one here where I'm just sort of going in the colour order. That one's in the wrong spot. But anyway, where I'm just putting in the colours, and I like to, if possible, to leave a few slots at what seems to me like a good place before the colour sort of changes, so that if I get another set and I need to put in some more swatches, I've got plenty of room without too much rearranging to do. I don't want to have everything really filled out so that if I have to slot one swatch in, I'm going to have to rearrange everything else. It's really quite time consuming. So the other thing about the page protectors is they did have, I'm trying to see if I can see one. They actually had, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it. I can see it here because of the reflection, but there's a little mark down here. They had a little flap at the top, and I think that's so that the coins, or I'm sure that that's so that the coins wouldn't fall out. That would have been really inconvenient for me. So what I did was I just came along with a scalpel and just sliced off those pockets. It took a couple of minutes per page. But what I do like to do is to have them sitting a little bit above that edge of the plastic, which is there, so that I can easily remove it. I tend to do it with tweezers, pull them out particularly. Pushing them in is not such a big deal because my hands are a little bit arthritic. I don't want to put any more stress on my joints than I need to, and this just makes it easier. As for printing the swatches, I created a template for myself. It was initially a blank template that fitted the size of the swatches. Then I go through my sets in the colour order that I have them in, and I add in all the details such as the code, if there is one, and the colour. I try and add a little code for the set so that it's easy for me to identify which set the colour comes from. So you can see in ones like here, I've had to put a CH there because that was ChromaFlow. When I printed it out, I've just printed the code that was on it, and that's not a lot of use to me when I've got the entire colour collection laid out like this. I really need to be able to know which set it's from so that I can find it. So I print my swatches on Nina cardstock. I really love this because it's got a nice texture. Each side has a slightly different texture. And what it does is it creates swatches for me which have this really lovely transition. I go from light across to dark in the corner. You can see some of my earlier swatches have been done on just a flat card, and it builds up really quickly and just creates kind of like you're moving the wax around, whereas this creates a really nice transition effect that I like. Unfortunately, it only comes in 8.5 by 11, which in Australia, our standard size is A4, and it would be way more convenient for me if I could print it out in that size, but look, that's just the way it goes. So I'll do a little flick through so that you can just have a look if you want at how all these colours go. Sometimes it can be actually quite complicated to figure out how your colours should flow, which you've probably found if you've created individual charts or put your pencils in an order that makes sense to you. That is amplified. The more pencils you add to your set, that issue becomes amplified. And I found sometimes it took me way longer to slot in a new set than I expected it wouldn't. It sometimes meant a little bit of rearranging of how I had previously put the order. So I'm happy with it now. It looks good. I love it. I really get a lot of use out of it. I also use my individual colour charts a lot, but, I do love this. It's super, super handy. So overall, it wasn't an expensive project. It did take quite a bit of time, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I really, really love seeing all of my pencils laid out like this, and I just like to look at the colour flow. So thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed seeing how I put my chart together, and that maybe it gave you some ideas for creating your own system, or perhaps it made you think that you absolutely don't want to do it because of the time involved. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.